It's interesting that throughout Jesus' life, he was surrounded by extreme sinners. In fact, in Matthew 11, verse 19, it says, "The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they said, 'Look, a glutton and a winebibber, a friend of tax collectors and sinners.'" Jesus even chose some disciples who had bad reputations to be his right-hand men. He spoke to those who were looked down on by the Jews in those times, like the Samaritan woman at the well. He had prostitutes throw themselves at his feet, begging for mercy, as Pharisees looked on with disdain. The demonized, the diseased, and those that were thought to be insane, they were naturally drawn to him. In this regard, he was hurled one morning into a potentially riotous situation as a woman caught in adultery was dragged into the temple where he was teaching. The scribes and Pharisees sought to trap him with their questions. In John 8, 4 and 5, they said, "Now Moses in the law commanded us that such women offenders shall be stoned to death. But what do you say to do with her? What is your sentence, Jesus?" What would he do with the worst of all sinners? First of all, it was not true that Moses' law commanded them to be stoned, but rather in Leviticus 20:10 to be put to death. At some points in history, they were strangled rather than stoned. Jesus was put in a difficult position. You see, if he condemned her to death, they would tell Pilate that Jesus was making himself judge and jury. And the Romans in that day no longer put adulterers to death. But if he let her off the prescribed Old Testament punishment, they would tell the people that he was not one to follow the law of Moses. So indeed, what would Jesus' sentence be? The only time ever recorded that Jesus wrote something was on this occasion. He stooped down to the ground and he took his finger and he wrote in the dust. We will never know what he actually put there. Was it other people's names? Was it times, dates, and places of those who had clearly done the exact same thing? They would not stop their harassment, and finally, he rose to his feet saying, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." The Greek word used there actually denotes the same kind of sin. One by one, every accuser left, conscience-stricken. Adultery was common in that culture, and yet the hypocritical Pharisees, they sought to bring down the ministry of Christ by calling out a vulnerable, broken person. You see, what they didn't understand, and sometimes even we still forget, is that Jesus came for the most wounded of mankind. In Mark 2, verse 17, it says, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." Isn't that good? To this very day, he still surrounds himself with sinners, saved by grace. That's why you and I can find forgiveness and freedom from our shame. Jesus came for the most wounded, and whatever we are going through, whatever we have done, God forgives us. So today, let go of your guilt and accept the free gift that Jesus offers. He came so that we could be set free from our humanity. It's a free gift. Receive it.